Hello, and welcome to The Only Sane Man by General Zero. Today, we will be reading Chapter 4, Anesthesia, with warnings of distressing flashbacks and an unpleasant psychological/medical reaction to anesthesia. The smell of anesthesia was choking Garthen. It was out of control, too heavy, too sweet, too much of everything. All of his senses were working like crazy. They were way too sensitive. His limbs felt like stone. Even in his panic, Garthen wondered why they weren't throbbing with heat like usual. It had all been a dream then. He'd never gotten out of the hospital, or else he'd relapsed again. Even though his ears ached from picking up the sounds of dust motes floating, he couldn't seem to understand the voices of any of the doctors arguing near him. They were going to replace something else, probably. Garthen felt like he was forgetting to breathe. Fuck, what the hell's wrong with him? Quill, what did you give him? It's just a common sulfuric. It's not even dangerous. They give it to kids. You idiots. We don't even know what kind of other medication he's on. This was bad. Garthen was supposed to keep breathing. He tried to remember what he'd been told to do when this happened. It was very hard to think. There was a panic button. Hit the panic button! Garthen couldn't tell if his limbs were responding right, or at all. Did he have them still? Well, I'm not a doctor. How else were we going to sneak him off planet if he didn't want to come? It's not like you had to plan to contribute, Miss Lone Ranger. I told you not to call me names. I cannot tell if you're insulting me or not. Guys, shut the fuck up. We have to wake him. Dave's not going to be happy if you accidentally kill his best friend. Not to mention we'll go to prison again. The doctor had told him to stay calm. The nerve implants could get jerked out of sync if he panicked. Just stay calm. That was a lot easier to say than do, Garthen thought. He was getting a headache from the smell of the anesthetic. The nurse had told him once the anesthetic was odorless. Well, that's what she knew, wasn't it? All Garthen knew was that he couldn't move, and that the smell was slowly killing him. Rocket, where are you going? To find out where he keeps his meds, so I know how to safely wake him up. Why would he be on medication anyway? Really? You need to ask that? The guy had Ronan's damn ship fall on him. I wasn't kidding when I said I'm surprised he's alive. Stay calm. Remember that you can move. Garthen gathered as much focus as he could and tried to unclench his fists. He had to make it work. If he rejected the nerve implants, they'd have to replace them again. He didn't think he could handle that anymore. Slowly, his muscles started responding. It was too slow. Garthen still couldn't remember how to breathe. Shit, guys, I don't think he's breathing. We need to call Novacore, Peter. We can't. They said we can't blow our cover with this one. I do not recall that. Denarian Day said secrecy was of the utmost importance, and that we could not reveal Novacore's involvement, and... Metaphor, Drax. Garthen was losing it. He needed help. He did the obvious thing. Years of habit made it automatic. When you needed help in Novacore, you reached out via the World Mind, and help came to you, either from your comrades or the Nova Force itself. There was something about that. Garthen knew, something the doctors had stressed many times to him. But he couldn't remember. Rocco, what's up? You look like you've seen a ghost. Nothing. Groot, pull some wires out of the wall. Gamora, give me a vaporizer. What are you doing? Saul's Novacore, and everyone in Novacore has a cybernetic implant that lets you do crazy shit. You know, the crazy shit that they do on a regular basis. Saul's retired, so they might have turned it off. I don't know. They're secretive as hell about it. But if we run just a jolt, damn it, Groot, that's too big, strip it down. A really tiny jolt of electricity through it, it should jumpstart his nervous system. Wake him up. I need the reducer in your gun to make sure the jolt isn't too large. Garthen was suddenly breathing again, and damn, it hurt. He had an incredible head rush from the excess of oxygen, and was very aware of his limbs now. All of them were trembling. Awareness came back to him so suddenly that he overshot when he tried to get up and ended up falling off the sofa, knocking over whoever had been kneeling next to him. Cold sweat dripped down his face and he brushed it away, pleased to be able to use his arm again correctly. Garthen looked around. A hole had been punched in his wall, and Rocket was fiddling with wires that had been pulled out of it, and looking at him with a strange expression that Garthen found suspiciously close to pity. Quill had fallen over the coffee table when Garthen knocked into him. All the outlaws looked visibly shocked. Garthen supposed he must look like a mess, so he glared at them. Quill managed to right himself and winced at Garthen's accusing look. Look, man, I'm really sorry, but you know, if you had just agreed to come with us in the first place. Garthon reached out, very deliberately, with his left arm, seized a hank of Quill's messy hair, and slammed the man's face into the coffee table. Quill's cry and the sound of glass cracking slightly sounded quite loud, and Garthon figured his ears were still oversensitive. He had a suppressant for it in the bedroom. He staggered to his feet, swaying slightly, and pushed past Gamora. Half a dozen later, Garthon was beginning to feel more stable, especially since none of his intruders had followed him into his bedroom. Garthon closed his eyes and leaned silently against the wall. "You always were a son of a bitch, Saul." It was Rocket. Garthon didn't bother opening his eyes. "You went through my medication." It had been fairly obvious. Everything had been in disarray when Garthon found it. He wasn't sure how much someone could tell just by looking at them, but Garthon knew that even though Rocket was a temperamental jerk and a criminal, he was very intelligent and very familiar with cybernetics. "The name's Rocket, dumbass, and if you call me it or by the number again, I'll rip you a new one." "Fine, Rocket. My name is Denarian Saal of Novacore. I have been assigned the dubious pleasure of figuring out what to do with you." "Don't even think about sending me to one of your labs. Next time an egghead in a white suit comes near me, I'm vivisecting him." It didn't matter, Garthon told himself. In fact, they would probably all leave him alone now that it was obvious that he was a mess. "I was trying to figure out what kind of reaction you were having. We were kind of worried you might kick the bucket on us." "I almost did." "Yeah, sorry, Quill's plan. You'll have to figure out the serial numbers on those so I can get a hold of the refills now that you're gonna be off planet." Now Garthon opened his eyes. "You still want me to come with you?" "Why not?" Rocket's gaze was challenging. He was going to make Garthon say it then. "Ah, look, it's the fucking salt pillar again. Why don't you just leave me the hell alone?" "Get up and behave. I'm escorting you back to Xandar for criminal trial. On my recommendation, they're trialing you as a fully sentient life form, capable of being held responsible for your numerous crimes." "Well, that's just... Wait, a trial? That means they recognize I'm a person, doesn't it? With rights and shit? Why would they do that?" "Why not?" Garthon would be damned before he voiced his fears out loud to Rocket. Rocket, of all people. Garthon pushed off the wall and threw the box of meds on his bed. He slid down one of his cabinets, retrieved his gun, and tossed it next to them. "I refuse to do anything illegal," he growled. Rocket grinned. "Sure, like owning an unlicensed weapon, 'cause that's totally legal." Garthon ignored him, collecting more things from around his room. "What are we doing then?" "Oh, I never paid attention to the details. Quill's the one with the plan. You broke his nose, by the way." "Good, he's an idiot." Rocket laughed. "Saul, I'm really glad you're alive." Thank you for listening to Chapter 4, Anesthesia, by General Zero. Next time, we will be reading Chapter 5, Aiding and Abetting. Have a wonderful day.